For us. Bit of an awkward moment for the Prime Minister in Winnipeg yesterday. He was heckled during a press conference.
Shame on you and your globalist counterparts. You're scumbags. You're an absolute scumbag.
Justin Trudeau interrupted several times by a man yelling about the carbon tax. Now, he got into the news conference, this man did, by claiming to be a member of the media, but was eventually hustled out. Global's Tom Vernon joined me earlier on the morning show to talk about the changing perceptions surrounding the PM. So is it official? Is the honeymoon over for Justin Trudeau?
Well, I mean, he's midway through his first term in government here, and midway points, that's usually when governments start to see a little bit of pushback on some of their policies. He's had two straight budgets with large deficits, much larger than he promised during the campaign. And then out west, obviously Winnipeg, Saskatchewan, in Alberta as well, his carbon tax policy, very unpopular, particularly in Saskatchewan, where Premier Brad Wall is pushing back against that, saying he will never allow it to happen. In Alberta, there's already a carbon tax, but the Conservative movement there is very unhappy with the carbon tax and vows to not only push against Premier Rachel Notley's, but will fight Justin Trudeau as well. So in certain areas of the country where the economy isn't going quite as well, it's going to be tough times for the Prime Minister to garner support in some circles.
Well, talking about out west, this is also tricky for the Prime Minister. The recent Trump approval of Keystone XL. Great news for Alberta that has been bleeding jobs, of course, but how does the Prime Minister, how does he possibly square that with his ambitious agenda when it comes to climate change?
Yeah, and you combine with that the Trans Mountain expansion he approved and Line 3, and the Energy East pipeline is still being looked at and is up for approval probably in 2019, approval or denial, I should say. Now, what he's trying to do is with this carbon tax is say, look, these pipelines, we put them in, but the way we put them in is with strong environmental policies, climate change policies, and he hopes that that will garner support on that. Now, there is a very large constituency that does not want to see these pipelines built whatsoever. They promise to protest them, and we saw a misstep a few weeks ago by the Prime Minister saying, well, look, he has to phase out the oil sands. He will phase it out someday. I call it a misstep because it was really met with a lot of anger in Alberta and Saskatchewan on that. And he did correct himself, saying, well, eventually down the line. But it is a very tight tightrope that he is trying to walk on this one.
All right, let's move over to the Conservatives in the leadership race. Tom, the deadline has passed to sign up new members. Kevin O'Leary claims he signed 30,000 plus. So does Kelly Leitch. By comparison, Lisa Raitt has signed up apparently only 10,000. So does that mean this is essentially now a two-person race?
It's really tough to say in this one. Obviously, Kelly Leitch and Kevin O'Leary trying to show some sign of strength by releasing their numbers. We haven't heard from candidates like Maxime Bernier and so on. There are 14 candidates in this, so we're not sure exactly how many memberships have been sold. But memberships and one member is only part of the equation. This is such a convoluted system of voting. Every riding will have 100 points. It's based on percentages. There's ranked ballots. So I remember speaking with analysts earlier this week that say it's still anyone's game, and anyone who tries to make a prediction on this one is probably just guessing at this point.
Yeah, just finally, Tom, let me ask you, when Stephen Harper was elected leader back in 2004, there was 250,000 members. Mm-hmm. That number has reportedly dwindled to around 100,000 card-carrying Conservatives. What, if anything, does that tell us about the Conservatives and their popularity?
Well, I mean, it shouldn't be too surprising to see those numbers dwindle. Between leadership races, numbers will dwindle because there's nobody out, no leadership candidates out actively selling. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be a few weeks yet before the Conservatives release the final tally of memberships being sold. But if the numbers from Kevin O'Leary